Good morning, all. Welcome to our weekly meditation town hall. We have the good fortune this morning of having Elizabeth and John leading us. Those of you who were at the member-only event on Tuesday got to hear Elizabeth's beautiful voice, and we'll get to hear that again today. So sit back, relax, and we will get started. I want to start with just an announcement that there will be no town hall on Christmas Day. We're going to take that day off. So, but we have them every other day, every other Sunday until then. So please join us when you can. And thank you to all of you that I see who were at the events this week. It's always nice to see you. So without further ado, I will turn it over to them.
Thank you, Menla. Thank you so much. And good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, good evening. Hi, wonderful to see you all. Just in case we haven't met, my name is Elizabeth, and this is my husband, John. And we're really, really glad to be with you today, and just really happy and grateful to you for setting aside time, especially at this hectic time of year where we're all tend to be jammed with activity to be together. So let's just take a big Dzogchen ah. Ah. Let's do that again, just for good measure. Ah. Just taking a moment to arrive and be comfy. We're very lucky to have this time to hit the pause button and just tune in together. So let's begin our practice with the 7-line supplication. Menla, could you please put that up for us? Thank you so much. Orgen yulji nup jangsam pemage sadong pola yatsen shoki nurupye pemajung ne jesudrat korukan roman gokor Keki Jesu dat ruki Jinji lap shishek suso Guru pe masiri hum Om ahum menza Guru pe masiri hum Om ahum Benza Guru Pema Siddhi 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 Hum. So, thinking about this time of year, the holiday season can really accentuate sometimes feelings of loneliness or stress and feelings of separation, highlighting family issues and just the sense of running around. But here now, this beautiful Sangha, even though we're alone together. We have a precious opportunity to practice seeing through separation, which after all is at the heart of our tradition. But the question is how? How do we do that? After all, from the time that we're very small and we're able to articulate our needs and discover me and mine and the feeling of you and yours, we discover duality and we often feel separate, vulnerable, and alone. And yet we yearn for connection, the experience of beyond two. When we feel so separate, we want to feel complete. We're needy, insecure. We feel fragmented. It feels like we flop around a lot, distractedly, right? At least I do, reading emails, clicking on links and articles, and especially at this time of year, running around maybe in mad preparation. As Lama says, sleepwalking through life and forgetting that we can jump off and hop off the gerbil wheel. So, how can we reclaim the experience of wholeness that we sense that we are truly at the innermost level? How can we move into an I-thou relationship with ourselves, with our immediate mandala, and ultimately with all life? When I was a small child, I remember looking out from my bedroom window at the vastness of the night sky. And from that tiny vantage point, little me, I had an embodied sense of non-separation, just looking at the moon. Many of you have had similar experiences, I know, but somehow as we grow up, that felt sense may need to be rekindled. And it can be through our practice. When I remember what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, or undoing it, that's seeing through the illusion of separation, even for an instant, at the cresting wave of now. When I can see through my predicament of ego, of the negativity bias that reinforces my sense of aloneness or fear, then I can glimpse the timeless time. It's called the Shicha, or the fourth fraction of the time beyond past, present, and future. And that's freedom from wanting and not wanting, and circumstances and conditioning. Sometimes we have extraordinary senses and experiences of non-separation, which can happen in moments of surrender, right? When we release totally or suddenly realize we're not in control. In a life or death situation, maybe, or even giving birth. Often it's the day-to-day, more quotidian experiences of non-separation that really help loosen the knot of ego and help us decondition, like seeing through separation with extended or estranged family members. We recently had that opportunity to see through the illusion of separation at our family Thanksgiving, cutting through the worn-in grooves of family dysfunction and unhappiness was a rare gift at that time. Really amazing. So it takes a tiny but conscious leap to start here now. The opening to what is now and the invitation to fresh seeing is always available to us. As Lama reminds us, the present has arrived. When are we going to open it? So the practice of just paying attention right now can help us with seeing through the illusion of separateness so that we can really experience this moment and be truly here and available to ourselves and to others. Attention, or presencing, is the method that allows us to cut through. Through what? Through the wanted and unwanted, the pushing and pulling, which creates such distortion and exhaustion and confusion. Clear seeing cuts through the experience, cuts through to the experience of now, to this moment, of what really is. The magic of this moment in all its simplicity, the pure land, the Buddha fields of this, all yes, all thank you, beyond good and bad, beyond wanting and not wanting, to being through and to just being. John, I know you have some thoughts to share.
Thank you, dear. I suspect I'm going to say about the exact same thing in a slightly different way. So I was thinking about the idea of seeing through the illusion of separation and I realized that the problem is that we think we're donuts. Menla, could you bring up the little slide that I made about this? So, first of all, I'm obviously not a PowerPoint expert, but I just wanted to have a little graphic to talk about this a little bit to help talk about it. And so I think whether we know it or not, we have a model of the way things work in each of our minds that works a little bit like this. We feel like, hey, there's this me, and then there's some sort of boundary, and then there's everything outside of me. And I interact with that stuff, and it gives me thoughts and feelings and wants and desires and whatever. I have opinions about it. Almost everything out there is either good or bad. There's some things are neutral, but I ignore those. Great. And then on the inside, there's thank you, Freud. There's some unconscious material, and that comes as a surprise too. It's like, oh, why am I feeling lousy today? Why am I feeling great today? Sometimes I know, sometimes I don't know. Where did that thought come from? Where did that inspiration come from? Where did that set? And who knows? But whatever it is, it's kind of also hidden from me behind some boundary. So I feel like we live and see ourselves as being the consciousness that's in between those two things, and we have those boundaries around the inner circle and the outer circle, which is basically what our ego does, is patrol those thick black lines and make sure that we have a good handle on ourselves so that we can protect everything that we think of as us. So great. Incidentally, I was going for chocolate donut. I don't know if that's obvious, but it was the best I could do. So, Menlo, thank you. I think you can take that down. So the thing is, there is a problem being a donut, and that is that I'm convinced that I'm separate from everything outside, and even though, yeah, the inside part is kind of me too, I'm separate from that too. And it feels bad. The separation actually hurts. It's incomplete. And I feel like there's always something wrong. And I think that we all feel this way. I mean, it's the problem the Buddha identified of suffering. There is no, there's always something lacking. There's always something that we want. There's always plenty of things we don't want. And it's because this self is separate and that it has its needs, that when it doesn't have its needs, it certainly has desires. And when it doesn't have desires, at least it has preferences and opinions and all of that stuff. Lots of attraction, lots of aversion. So we go about grasping at what we want and pushing away what we don't want. And that's the very definition of samsara, because experience has shown, Buddhism teaches that no amount of getting what you want is ever going to make you happy, and no amount of trying to avoid what you don't want is ever going to make you happy. And there's another aspect of it, which is those two black circles, the ego boundaries between ourselves and everything else, and inside and outside. It takes a subtle, or maybe not so subtle, energy to maintain those divisions. It's actually something that we actively do with our minds, and it's exhausting. So what do the teachings say about this? They say that those boundaries are an illusion. But of course, we all know it's a very powerful illusion. It's baked in. Evolution probably did it to us. Thanks a lot. Okay, trying to keep the animal alive. Or, I get it. Necessary up to some point, but not exactly the formula for happiness. So Buddhism says, like, that sense of separation is confusion itself. That the reality is really non-dual. Non-duality, the absolute, the Dharmakaya, call it what you will, That is, I think, what in Dzogchen we call the view, that there really is no separate self. And applied to things as opposed to us, there's no separate self there either. Nothing actually has a self nature. Everything arises with everything else. And I think they can investigate, I'm no scientist, but I think you can investigate modern physics and quantum mechanics and all of that, looking for the essence of anything. And it's pretty illusory. And in fact, what seems to be is that everything simply exists in and as a relationship to everything else, which is cool. So while we think we're the wave, the Ram Dass's metaphor of the two waves racing toward the shore, and one wave is beside itself because it's going to crash into the shore and then it's not going to exist anymore. And the other wave says, don't worry, don't worry. You're not the wave, you're the ocean. And that is a great comfort. If you can adopt that view, that's the view. So also on kind of a broader level and switching food groups, non-separation is the whole enchilada. It it is what in Buddhism we mean by wisdom, is recognizing non-separation, but kind of also coming with that automatically is it's also compassion. Realization of non-separation is wisdom itself, and when you realize non-separation, compassion arises naturally. And the way that works, and Bernie Glassman, the Zen teacher, now deceased, had a great metaphor in one of his books. He's like, imagine your two hands, obviously both part of the same body, but imagine that they took it into their heads that they were separate entities with separate identities and separate consciousness, and he named them Sam and Joe. And so imagine further that Sam gets some money and Joe gets furious because Joe's like, hey, well, why does Sam get the money? I want the money. And then eventually gets so distraught that he attacks Sam, trying to wrest the money from him. And from our vantage point, knowing that the hands are both connected to the same body, that is obviously absurd. But that's the exact same, that's the exact same absurdity when you realize that everything and everyone is connected. Then you naturally want to help others, and that's the very basis of Buddhist ethics is the realized sense of connection. So Lama encourages us to see through the illusion of separation. So what to do? We can do two kinds of things. We can climb up from below, or we can swoop down from above. From the relative perspective, there are two things. We want to get to that absolute. We want to dissolve those ego boundaries through meditation or whatever means. And then we want to have peak experiences, unitive experiences where we're meditating away and we have that, aha, I get it. I'm part of everything. And that's all good. I mean, that's great to have that. And then the other thing, the swooping down part, is there's the absolute perspective from which there aren't two things. There's only one thing, and there's only one thing ever. You don't have to you don't have to do the work and practice. I mean, if you could, if we could believe it, if we could experience it, if we could somehow get it into our heads, there's nothing to do and nothing to be done. There never has been, there never will be. And the idea that we have to like dissolve ourselves is all just part of the illusion, because there was never one to begin with. There's nothing to dissolve. So even the relative is absolute, and even dualism is non-dual from that perspective. So what if? What if all that's right? What if there is actually no separate self to worry about? One Zen saying sums it up very, very concisely: no self, no problem. And that's kind of an understatement. What would it be like to be free from our personal worries, our personal agenda, and instead be realizing that we're just a tiny part of something much bigger that's going on? Wouldn't it be freedom itself? Wouldn't it be a liberation from samsara? And wouldn't it be the end of the struggle? So imagine you're a passenger on a plane, and you look across the aisle, and the passenger in the other aisle seat is convinced that he's flying the plane, and he's really sweating it. He's like, white knuckling it, pretending that he's at the controls, and he's actually in seat 16C, but he thinks he's flying. He's trying to get it right, trying to get to the right destination, trying to avoid turbulence, trying to have a smooth landing. But of course, he's just a passenger. And we can see from our perspective that his efforts have no real bearing on what's happening. And now, of course, it's clear to us that he's not the pilot at all. But the teachings go even further. They don't say that we're the passenger instead of the pilot. We're not even a donut. We're simply the air. We're the sky itself. We're free, unobstructed, and imperturbable. So let's practice and see if we can practice some non-separation.
Thank you, John. Suzuki Roshi, the Zen monk and teacher who founded Tassajara, the first Zen temple outside of Asia, and writer of Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, said, "Enlightenment is an accident. Spiritual practice simply makes us more accident prone." So let's become more accident prone and practice what Lama calls co-meditation in Make Me One with Everything, eroding separation and experiencing mutual reciprocity. Menla, could you please bring up the bodhicitta and bodhisattva vows? Thank you.
Great. Okay, from now until reaching perfect Buddhahood, for the benefit of all sentient beings without exception, I shall practice the six perfections wholeheartedly, day and night. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to liberate them. Delusions are inexhaustible. We vow to transcend them. Dharma teachings are boundless. We vow to realize them. The Buddha's enlightened way is unsurpassable. We vow to embody it. Okay, so in terms of practicing non-separation, I think it helps to close our eyes and feel the actual sensations. And let's try to let go of the subtle effort of making a mental map of our bodies in space. Really focus in on just the sensations themselves. Maybe you can feel pressure where your hands meet, or where you're sitting on your seat, or the breath flowing gently in and out. But whatever it is, just let those be isolated data points. Don't fill in the outline of the body that you know or think is there to connect those dots. Just let them hang there in space. Just feel each individual feeling with meticulous attention, and don't do the extra part. Don't do the filling in, the sketching in, the assuming as to what's going on everywhere else. And I think quickly you begin to feel the porousness of the body and the way that this sensations that you're having are almost hanging in space as isolated little data points going on. Let's try that. However many data points, however many sensations you're feeling, absolutely fine. There's no proper number for them. Any amount is great. Just don't sketch in the rest. Anything you're not feeling, don't assume what's going on there. Let those sensations come and go. Nothing's fixed. Some of the ones that you're feeling now will fade in a minute or two. Others will replace them. That's all fine. Practice is just to let them be exactly as they are and no more. Now let's fold in sounds. In addition to the sensations that you're feeling, pay attention to any sounds in the room where you are, sound of my voice, or anything that you can hear, however subtle or not subtle. And let that hang in space. Those hang in space wherever they are. See what happens to the feelings of inside and outside. If we're not creating the boundaries, if we're not sketching in that penciled outline in our minds, what do we actually perceive as we sit here? Let the stuff be stuff and the space be space. It's mostly space. No inner or outer. No difference between the stuff and the space. Not two, but one, as Lama says.
And now turn the spotlight inwards and pop the question, who is thinking my thoughts? Who? Who or what? Who or what is in charge here? What is this? What is this? And if you don't know, just be with that. As the Korean Zen master Sung Song said, only don't know. Just relaxed at an ease here together. On the spot, on the dot. Another way that we can experience non-separation, at least for me, is through chanting or sacred sound. Somehow moving the air and resonating can help nudge us into communion with the totality. After all, sound is complete and nothing's missing when we're all in. So let's chant Om Mani Padme Hum, and please join me if you want to. That's mantra number 3, or just rest in the sound and just be. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum. Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Just resonating together. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri as one. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Opening up, opening our hearts. Om Mani Padme Hum. Hum 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 Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Just feeling the sound and the breath. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Resting and releasing. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum. Just allowing. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum. Pure process. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Sending love and compassion. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. For yourself and for all beings. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. In hearing, just hearing. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Love for all beings. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. In the heart of our hearts. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. In singing, just singing. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Becoming the sound. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Mani Padme Hum.
Manly, could you please bring up the dedication prayer and the new millennium prayer on page 14? Boom. Through the merit of this, may the light of the Buddha's precious teaching remain for ages to come, and the ground for every single kind of benefit and happiness. May all the supreme holders of the teachings who uphold its living truth accept to live for eons. Their lotus feet stand firm. And so may the sun of altruism and well-being in all its blazing splendor shine the brilliant light of study and practice of Buddha Dharma throughout every corner of the universe.
And the New Millennium Prayer by Lama Surya Das. May all beings everywhere with whom we are inseparably interconnected and who want and need the same as we do, may they be awakened, liberated, healed, fulfilled, safe, and free. May there be peace and harmony in this world, and an end to war and violence, poverty and hunger, inequality and oppression, greed and cruelty, pandemics, famine, droughts, earthquakes, all kinds of natural disasters. May all be free from fear, harm, danger, anxiety, and insecurity. May we better prepare ourselves for the natural calamities that beset us all, and may we all together complete the spiritual journey, one beloved community, one circle, one family, all the way home.
So does anybody have any questions or anything that they would like to share? Open the floor, open mic night here at the Zen Center.
You can raise your hand or you can just unmute yourself if you have anything for John and Elizabeth in our next couple of minutes.
I have something, Minla.
Okay, go ahead.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Thanks, John. I
Hi,
love your
Glenda.
singing and how, John, you contemplate these two, outer and inner. So then I just relax, and then I realize then that just dissolves. But if I don't relax, I keep it all in place, right? So I appreciate you showing the two circles
Well,
and
thank
the
you,
real
Glenda.
essence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenda.
Anyone else? Well, I'd like to thank you both so much for today. And I would like to encourage all of you to come on our retreat in the spring. Let me pull that up. Oops, I have another one on there, sorry. There we go. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this will be our first time back in person, and we hope that you can join us, but also know that if that doesn't work for you, we will keep our one-day virtual retreats throughout the year. And tomorrow, our calendar for 2023 will be put on the website, so you'll be able to see what's happening throughout the year. But John and Elizabeth will be with us on this spring retreat, so if you like their teachings and want to hear more from them, then join us, please. And if you can't, for any reason, maybe you can just pass the word to others that we have this retreat coming up, and share with them what's on the website. So I want to thank all of you for being with us today. Thank you again, John and Elizabeth.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Menla.
Menla.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Wonderful practicing with you.
And hope to see you next Sunday, same time, same place. Have a good weekend, everyone.